Jay McDaniel joins us, Executive Director, Mississippi Gaming Commission. Jay, good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning, Paul. Doing well. How about you?
Fun fact there. I did not know that. The three things that hunt humans. Humans, polar bears, and lions.
That's the first I've heard of that, too.
Me, too. And I'm not going to guarantee that. I may have to give money back on that one, but I did hear it from the Animal Channel, so I'm not sure how accurate they are. Well, happy summer to you. We are tomorrow into the month of June, which is the end of the calendar year. And I just thought it was a great time to come back and look post-COVID exactly how we're doing across the state as far as you being the executive director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission. What do you think? What's the analysis?
Yeah, right now, my analysis would be still busy. I think you and I talked 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah. And 2021 was a record year for our Gulf Coast. They did $1.6 billion in gaming revenue. Just to recap some of that, statewide we did over $2.6 billion. So we ended 2021 coming out of COVID, record year. But one of the things you and I talked about was, a lot of the people wanting to get out and be entertained and take advantage of amenities and travel. What we were a little worried about coming into this year was, is that going to slack off a little bit? I will report that the first quarter through March, we were actually ahead of the first quarter of last year. We were about 7% ahead of 2021. So started off this year the same beat. Numbers look good. And then April, we had a little bit of a retraction. We had a slow April, put it that way. So as of the end of April, we are actually 1% behind last April. But, that's not bad. Last April was a record month, so this April just wasn't as strong.
It's not bad, but you have to attribute some of this. Just the reality. When gas is at $4.50 a gallon, and we are a big travel-in market, drive-through market, it's got to take its toll sooner or later.
It does. That's exactly right. That's what, at some point, I was saying we can't, this isn't sustainable when you have inflation the rate it is, when you have gas prices the way they are. So, fortunately, we haven't seen a big pullback, but I do worry about what might be coming if we don't get these things under control. Because, like you said, very much a drive-in market, tourism-driven, and we want to keep it busy.
Well, the other part of that I was going to ask, when you look back at 2021 and you see that $1.6 billion or 2 point something, were other markets, casino markets, also doing equally as good?
Many of them were. As you know now, Paul, there are gaming jurisdictions all over the country. The big ones, the Nevadas, New Jersey. We were a little ahead of places like New York and even Louisiana because they kept their mandates in place longer. We were able to open up pretty quick. So I think we were ahead. We were in probably the top 5 or 10 as far as seeing that percentage increase. But as of today, most every gaming jurisdiction is seeing that same kind of growth. And I think it's the same desire of people to get out, and just, experience being out and about. Now, this year, we're still in the first quarter, now in the second quarter. We're keeping an eye on that. But I have seen where some other states have retracted more than we have. So it's a good sign for Mississippi that we are still right there where we were last year.
I was going to ask you this the last time, and I forgot to. And I love watching poker. I'm smart enough not to play it for money. But and I love the game. It's a good thought-provoking game, and when you're playing against people like that, and there's so many different apps that you can do that now. But I noticed Beau Rivage is one that had they put on a fantastic World Series of Poker event there, and I'm sure some other casinos in Mississippi do that, but they actually get a lot of notoriety on TV from some of the biggest stars in the poker world coming down.
That's right.
Do you guys have to sanction that in a different manner, or is that all up to the casino?
There are regulations in place for how poker's played. There's certain rules, how the dealers are permitted. So sometimes when you have these big events, they have to bring in dealers from Las Vegas or from other areas. So our main role is we kind of have this influx of we've got to get these guys permitted, make sure their backgrounds are okay, because they have to get that gaming badge to do it. So other than that, though, those games are played by the same rules of their other games. They can do no limit. They can do 5-10. They can do, set the games up however they'd like as long as they're within the regulations. And those events, while they're big and they're great because they bring in people, it's really, as far as the game itself, how it's conducted, it's very similar to your regular Thursday night game.
That's the same thing, yeah.
You ought to get in one of those, Paul. They're
no, ma'am. No, I had the opportunity. One, I had a free buy-in on one, and I got close, but I didn't do it. And I thought, man, it's just not. I would set the record for who got out first.
You'd probably be surprised. There's a lot of people.
But you always hear where lightning strike and somebody comes away in third or fourth, and the payout on some of those things are just absolutely incredible.
It is. And you're right about bringing in a lot of exposure. Tunica and on the Gulf Coast, both MGM and Caesars will often host those big events, World Series of Poker events, and so it's something that's been conducted here a lot of years past and continues to grow.
Do you put fines or anything that arrest or anything else on your website where you have to make some of those course corrections?
We don't just put them on the website. Things like fines. If we ever fine a casino, that is a public record. They have to actually go before the commission to either challenge it or pay it. So if you followed our minutes, you would see that in the minutes. We don't then just publish them though. Going forward, you'd have to look back in the minutes to see where that happened.
Is that something that commonly happens?
It really doesn't. One thing I'll give our operators credit for, and this is the regulatory market that I inherited and that we want to continue, is that what we'll typically do is almost like a strike three. I mean, if our casinos, obviously, if they're blatantly doing something that violates the law, yes, you're going to get a fine. But our operators know that. They know how important their license is. They don't typically proactively break the rules. Typically, if something happens, it's a rogue employee. What will happen is that employee will usually be terminated. We'll take their gaming badge so that they're out of the system. But the necessity of fining casinos in this state is just something we haven't had to do a lot of. I mean, it happens, but it's not any regularity because I'll give them credit. They take action. They know if they violate the rules, they know it's coming. So what typically happens, you get a notice of a violation. You do it again, a fine's coming, and they usually clean it up, whatever the problem is.
Are our casinos here in the state of Mississippi, and I'm sure they probably have had some experience with this in casinos in other states that they have that already allow medical marijuana or recreational marijuana. Are we ready to handle that here, and all the guidelines are set for it?
Yeah, right now it's kind of a touchy subject. Honestly, Paul, our regulations, when we license a casino and its executives and owners, one of the conditions is they must comply with all state and federal laws. It's just a very generic, that's on their license. So technically, if you get in that business, there is this idea that it's still federal law. It's being violated in some capacity. It depends on whether they're cultivating or selling or whatever. So right now, the commission's position is you don't undertake anything that could violate federal law, even if they're not prosecuting you. So right now, our operators.
But wait a minute. Then you could fine them for not following state law. That's a rock and a hard place.
Well, yeah, it's tough. So that's why I say it's a tough question.
We'll talk more about that in a moment or two. That's where lawyers make their money, I guess.
That's exactly right.
Jay McDaniel, Executive Director, Mississippi Gaming Commission. We'll talk more about this. Also, any new licenses or those closing or amenities or anything that they're knocking on your door, we'll ask them that. Coming up right after this quick. Back live in the Trustmark Studios on a Tuesday, May 31st, and guest is Jay McDaniels. Jay is the Executive Director, Mississippi Gaming Commission. Jay, did you guys have your powwow of the summer, or is that coming up on the the Casinos Association meeting?
Yeah, the Southern Gaming Summit. That was early May.
It was in May.
It was.
Was there some consensus on what everybody was feeling as far as maybe the success of sports betting, but certainly the mobile app?
Yeah, it was probably the hot topic, as it has been for the last couple of years, Paul. This summit, we had representatives from Louisiana and Arkansas and Tennessee, and they all have mobile betting now. Arkansas is kind of still coming online, but Louisiana, as you may recall, started in January. Tennessee started a couple of years ago. So we got a lot of input from, hey, here's how it's going here. Here are the one of the things I asked is if I'm ever to regulate that one day, what can you tell me about what to do, what not to do? But I think in Louisiana, we've just seen it's gone very well there. and they haven't even hit football season yet, and they're taking over $200 million a month in wagers. We take about $50 million. So,
wow.
And ours obviously is retail. Theirs is mobile. So it's 4 or 5 times the wagers typically on the mobile, the states that have mobile betting.
And they've done that through college football or baseball?
Mainly March Madness was their main. They started the end of January. They got in right before the Super Bowl, so college football was over, but they did take wagers on the Super Bowl. They took it on March Madness, which did very well. I think that's the majority of those wagers you probably saw come in. But I'm telling you, when college football comes in Louisiana, I mean, they were coming over to Mississippi last year. They won't be doing it this year.
What's the stipulations that they have? They have to go register at a casino?
Their stipulation, it depends. So they did it parish by parish. So some of their parishes you can't wager in. So
I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the casinos run it. Their racetracks can run it. Their lottery can even have. There are several different outlets that can offer mobile. So it really depends on which one you choose. But you can do the registration there through the mobile device. There's a lot of what we call KYC, know your customer. There's a lot of – one thing I've learned is that is a very rigorous process, and they've done a very good job of capturing the individual. There's a lot of verification in there. So from the states that run mobile that I've talked to, they don't get a lot of problems with the registration. Most of them have recommended it's not that difficult online as long as you go through these processes.
Is that geofencing parish by parish?
It is, yes. They have certain parishes that when you cross that line, so not only do they geofence the state, they have to geofence out those parishes as well.
So if there's only one opportunity, whatever it happens to be, a racetrack or a casino there, that's the only place you can do it.
Well, what they do, Paul, let's just say the casino in New Orleans wants to offer their mobile statewide. They can, and you can bet through them as long as you are in another parish where it's legal. So it would be like you betting in Vicksburg at a casino in Biloxi. You could do that if we went statewide.
That's the concept that most people are talking about here. If the legislature would go on and get it done, is it not?
I think so. That's kind of the stall, is that no one really has come up with the comprehensive, this is the way it needs to be. I think the best model is just statewide. You let the casinos do it through a partnership, and you geofence your state. Right now, as you know, or you may not know, the Gold Strike in Tunica and the Beau Rivage in Biloxi are geofenced their property. So you can mobile bet inside their property. And so we've used that as a model. How does it work?
Yeah.
And the geofencing of just those 4 walls is amazing. You go outside and it won't work. But when you go in there, you can use your mobile app on their property, and it keeps you from having to walk back and forth to the retail desk.
Yeah, I know this is out of your domain, but I believe the Dancing Rabbit at Pearl is in Golden Moon. Is the same way.
That's correct. It is. They've got it on their location, and they actually, because it's their property, they can actually go outside the bounds of the casino. They can bleed out
on
a
the
little
golf
bit.
course.
So that's right. That's right.
Or I guess on the full reservation.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of their call, how the federal law. But I mean it's not our jurisdiction, so we're kind of they can do what they need to do to stay within the confines of their rules.
Well, I know it's going to come up again, but as you said, we're going to be losing money because of that. And when things turn down, that might be a downturn. That might be the defining moment there. So hopefully people will put it together. But then again, if the majority of people there at the summit want that, I'm just befuddled exactly what casinos are powerful enough or have enough sway with the rest of the casinos to stop it.
Yeah, that's
in the state legislature.
I think that's the big question. I mean, we do have 26 casinos. They're run by 14 different operators. Some of them have multiple casinos. So it's just a question of, do they want to come together as one group and push it, or is it going to take the big ones, fighting enough for it? That's just the question. I think at the end of the day, it's up. Is it a big enough topic for our legislature to really want to get on board and say, we're going to look at this and really push this through? Or is it not? And I'm not, it's...
That question will be answered by your favorite lobbyist, whoever that happens to be. So we'll leave it to him or her to define how important it is.
Right.
Any new licenses out there, any inquiries, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, one thing that has hit the news, there's a group that's going to buy the casino in Natchez. There's one casino in Natchez, the Magnolia Bluffs. There's a group out of New York that's coming in to acquire it, Saratoga Springs, New York. They have a casino there and a couple of casinos in Colorado, so they're kind of operate those smaller one-off properties. And so they are in the process of acquiring that casino. So we're in the process of vetting them and looking at that company, make sure they meet the requirements that we require to come in. But right now, that is the only one that is publicly being acquired. There's fortunately, no talk of anyone surrendering licenses or getting out of the game. But I think what you'll see, Paul, last year really spurred a lot of interest. I've had a lot more inquiries when they see revenue numbers like they did last year. There's a lot of interest in even sites, building new ones, purchasing existing ones. So I don't think this year will get done without us seeing 2 or 3 more of these.
Because these people do this long term. They know downturns turn back up and up. But once they go up, we just have this cycle as far as the economy is concerned, and the casino people think long term. So it's got to be a good harbinger to know that these folks are inquiring and they want to make an investment with the amenities that they have to bring to the state of Mississippi, and that's good news.
That's right.
We looked at the river casinos, and we were kind of amazed at how well they have done, because sometimes they were the tough one. Let me go back to the Natchez thing. What's the name of the Natchez Casino now?
Magnolia Bluffs.
Are they going to change the name, or is that part of it?
Right now, the intent is no.
It's not to change it.
That's right. And, it's a well-run casino, good staff there. As regulators, when you've got a casino that's run well, you don't want it to change too much except for the better. So this operator, I think their plan is to come in, make it better. It has a small hotel there, small footprint, but maybe they can make it bigger. But right now, I think the goal is let's just kind of keep it going, and then maybe down the road, that's up to them if they wanted to change something.
Is present ownership local or out of town?
They're out of town, but they're very involved locally. Yeah. It's a premier group. It's a small operational group, but they've done a great job down there. They really have.
Natchez is a pop-in town, man. They've done a great job in the last few years.
Yeah, we'd love to see not only our operators but the local market, benefit from it. So
we were all worried about some of the moves going on in West Memphis with the dog track and everything that happened there, and about the same time we had that major flood up there when all of this was happening. And we just felt like, everything's going to close. It's going to be a ghost town in 5 years. And, boy, that turned out not to be true.
Yeah, they took a big hit. Tunica took a big hit. You look at what it was growing. You had not only the casinos, you had the golf courses, you had an outlet mall. Yeah. One of the things we've seen the hit is the surrounding amenities. You had a golf course closed. When the large Harris property closed with the convention center, and that hurt. But there are still 6 properties there, and 7 if you count Lula right down the river. And that's amazing because, like you said, it took a significant hit when the flood hit and they closed, and then south on the West Memphis casino upped their game at the same time. It put a big dent in their revenue. Since then, it's kind of stabilized, but I just don't think we'll see what we saw, 15, 20 years ago with that market.
Yeah. Well, we got 30 more days to add to this, and then we close the book on 2022, I guess, and move on for the next fiscal year. But you're saying that things look still pretty good.
Yeah, right now they are. We're gonna keep doing our job. We have a job to do, but we try and stay out of the way. We try and look for ways that we can make things run more efficiently. So the casinos have their job to do. We have our job to do, but it's a pretty good partnership in trying to make it the best for the state.
You got it. Good visit. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Jay is the Executive Director, Mississippi Gaming Commission. We got a couple of other sound bites, some quick shots, and other things on the final 30 for the final day in the month